Hi, this is Tikva from Homeopathy for Humanity, and we are back once again with our 10-year program of Materia, Medica, Pura, and we are still on the subject of Arsenicum. Thank you for joining us, and please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. Hey, Sanjay, you have a PDF to pull up for us? There's over 40 pages of proving data in Arsenicum. So we decided that we're mainly going to focus on the proving data that is in bold print. So we have the diminution of memory. That means that it's been reduced, it's been shortened, it's been made smaller so that the memory is impaired. It's an impairment of memory. And then there's a bunch of different stuff about vertigo and confusion, uneasiness, stupefaction, and defective memory again. And then on the next page, we go to the headache section. There's a semi-lateral headache. Yep, we have one-sided headaches. Right side, left temple. Left temple. Left temple. Forehead. Throbbing. And then we have a bold again. Throbbing headache, quivering symptom number 56. Throbbing headache in the forehead, just above the root of the nose. You've got the nose, you've got the root of the nose, and you have a throbbing headache right here. Belongs to Arsenicum. And then it says like blows of a hammer. And then again, it goes to the one-sidedness. Okay, proving number 91. The borders of the eyelids are painful on moving, as if they were dry and rubbed upon the eyeballs. And this occurs while walking in the open air and inside a room. Okay, so you have two different modalities there. So it says the borders of the eyelids, that would be the edges, are painful when moving the eyes, feels like they're dry and rubbing on the eyeballs in both the open air and inside a closed room. And then we have one piece of bold in proving number 91, 92, 93, 94. Watering of the eyes. So just that word watering is in the bold.
The complete symptom, itching and watering of eyes. In the morning, some matters. In the morning, some matter in them. Means there's something inside the eye.
There's gunk in the eyes. Gunky
Huh?
stuff.
Have
Yep, then we have 101, burning in the eyes. So there's where we get burning pains in arsenicum, not only in the abdomen, but in the eyes too. And then we see the word tears in the next piece of proving data. So you have both swollen eyelids, burning in the eyes, nose and mouth, but it's more so in the eyes. And then there are projecting eyes filled with tears. The acid tears make the cheeks sore. So that means that their eyes are like they're protruding a little bit, and they are filled with tears, but the tears are like a little bit acidic and make the cheeks sore. Okay, so we have again watering, but it's not in bold. And we have contracted pupils. What are contracted pupils?
Contracted pupil means the pupil becomes small.
Yes, the pupils are smaller than they should be. So let's say you take somebody into bright light, the pupils should be small. Then let's say you go into a darkish room, then the pupils should get bigger. And if they don't, then they're still contracted. And we see that underneath that, there's sensitive to light with photophobia. But we have the pupils are remaining smaller. Now, when you do like an exam, you can flash light and see how well people's pupils, the pupils are the black part, and how well they respond to light. So this is a proving symptom where the pupils are not responding to light properly. And I'm going to have a coughing attack. Somebody take over for a second. Enormous swelling of head and face. Whoa. But that's in a bracket. So that's a reference.
What is it? A reference?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that somebody may have had it, right? When
Yeah,
they
somebody had it, and it's from a journal. It's from
And it's-
CNAP 1C. And I'm looking at the beginning for CNAP. It's not from the proving data itself, it's from an inclusion. But I can't find that inclusion. Let's see, Kaiser.
Does that mean somebody already had the symptom and then after
Yes, it
taking the
was-
remedy got worse?
No, it's something from a journal entry from historical journal entry time. everything that's in brackets. Oh, here's Knapp. Okay. Kaiser CL in Hinkies Zeitsch, FD Satarge, Kellner in Brussels, Samuel 1727, Knapp Annalyn D. Statusaren I. So it's one of the journal entries from the 1700s. Yeah, so not everything in here is actual proving data, but some of it's historical data taken from other sources, where that's the enormous swelling of head and face. And I'm going to cough again.
What is enormous?
Very large. Very large swelling of head and face.
I thought you said one time that when something's in brackets, because Hahnemann he proved on healthy people, but everybody who's healthy usually has something, some general issues. And then whatever their general issues, if they got worse or better, then that was in brackets, but it was something that they had before they began the proving. Is that, did I
Yeah,
misunderstand something?
that's in the parentheses.
Oh, the parentheses,
Right,
okay.
parentheses versus brackets. Brackets
Okay.
is a, and
Yes.
it's done slightly different by Herring. I have like totally a throat thingy going on. Yeah, so brackets are different than parentheses. And those also vary, you know, with Herring as well.
Is it different by Herring? Is it?
Yeah, a little bit. And then Herring has that omega or whatever sign it is. Thing that goes through it that says when it occurred during. Okay, 276, 78, 278. No, 178. Sorry, guys. Voluptuous tickling in the right meatus auditorius. It compelled him to rub. Ah, his ear itches. I like this next one. Agreeable crawling deep in both ears for 10 days. I like the way he says agreeable, right? He doesn't mind it, doesn't feel bad, kind of likes it, huh? Agreeable. Okay, no, 190. 678, 198. Pain of several teeth in the gums as if they were loose and would fall out. But the pain is not increased by chewing. There's the unusual part. Okay, so there are several teeth. There's pain in the gums. It feels like they're loose and they would fall out, but it doesn't hurt worse to chew. Because you would think that it would hurt worse to chew, but it doesn't hurt worse to chew. So pain in several teeth in the gums as if they were loose and would fall out, but the pain is not increased by chewing. Okay.
And read the next also. Goes.
Yeah, go ahead and, you know, I've got this coughing thing. You go ahead and read the next one.
Take as from loose. They are loose and pain as if sore per se, and still more than chewing. Touch the gums likewise causes similar pain. Thick swells on that side. There is a pain still more when chewing, touching gums causes. Earlier rubric it says pain is not increased by chewing. How can just this?
Yep, this is where we have a polarity, where we have the stronger polarity not increased by chewing, and the lesser polarity by more by chewing.
Few cold symptoms are
I was kind of thinking you were going to read that. Okay, a kind of paralysis of the fauces and esophagus. The chewed bread could not be swallowed down. It only went down with difficulty, with an uneasy pressure, as if the esophagus had no power to swallow it. He heard it rattle down. Okay, this is an important feature that can show up in arsenicum. You get people who have a deglutinase. When you have people who can't swallow, sometimes you see this clinically. And it's not the thing that then everybody thinks that trouble swallowing, they think of the word globus hystericus, but it's not only that. Okay, because in arsenicum, we see here in the proving data that is also a very strong symptom in arsenicum, that there's like a paralysis in the throat where the food can't be swallowed down, as if the esophagus had no power to swallow it. Okay, so keep this in mind because we do every once in a while, not very often, but I remember just one time having somebody come that couldn't swallow their food. And this is clearly stated here in the proving data. And then there's burning in throat. You know, there's a lot of burning pains in arsenicum. Oh, up here, 250, no, 266.
six.
After eating, bitter taste in the mouth. After 3 hours and after 48 hours. Up, water brush. Sanjay,
Complete
can you explain what water brush is?
versus the water which come reverse in the mouth.
And then we have a lot of burping. Frequent empty irritation. That means burping. So there's burping without stuff coming up. Here we have here stuff coming up. And then we have burping with nothing coming up. And then there's hiccups, frequent hiccups, convulsive hiccups. And then there's nausea. Ineffectual efforts to irritate. Ineffectual efforts to burp. Okay, so the person feels like burping. They can't burp. They want to burp. They're trying to burp. They can't burp. It's not working. Think of that in Arsenicum. Arsenic used to be put in skin creams, whitening creams, things like that. You know, if you think about like the palace in Versailles and people having those white faces with like the cute little decorations done with like black eyeliner, right? And the powdered white wigs. So there was a lot of exposure to arsenic in the olden days. It's still sometimes in people's well water and in chicken feed, okay? People talk sometimes about how chickens often need arsenicum, as that being like specific to chickens, but chickens often have arsenic in their chicken feed in order to help them grow better. So we're talking poisoning, really, not just that the natural chicken is like arsenicum like. You know what I mean? Okay, so we have symptom 446, 47, 48. At the anus, there's hemorrhoids. And it has shooting pains when sitting and walking, not connected with the stool. But the bold part is anus and hemorrhoids. And then, of course, we have hemorrhoids that burn like fire, right? Because there would be burning pains in arsenicum.
Have symptom also blind him with pain like so sticks with the hot needle. During stool, painful contraction just above and towards this symptom more strong stressful. Arsenic also has. What is blind hemorrhage?
Blind hemorrhoids are hemorrhoids that are inside the rectum that you can't see externally. They're inside. You have like the, the anus and the rectum. The blind hemorrhoids would be sitting along the side. And here, they're blind, as in we cannot see them during a physical examination just by looking. They're blind. They're internal, as opposed to protruding, because hemorrhoids are either protruding or they're inside and then they're blind. You can't see them.
Does hemorrhoids and
What?
hemorrhoids and piles? Difference between
Go ahead.
I am asking. Oh,
You're asking who, me? Are you asking me?
I am asking because for hemorrhoids at a
You know, I can't hear you every word you're saying. Your audio keeps breaking up. You try again?
I said, what is difference between hemorrhoids and piles?
Nothing. Nothing. Same thing.
And they use word blind piles and bleeding piles or hemorrhoids, bleeding hemorrhoids.
As far as I know, it's the same situation. Oh, now we come up to another bold in 461, 62, 63. Frequent urging to urinate with copious flow of urine. Okay, people, the symptom and the proving here is that people need to pee frequently. They need to pee often. And not only do they pee often, this is also important, they pee a lot when they pee often. So you have copious urine, that means a lot. They're peeing a lot at one time. So you could have somebody needs to pee frequently, but they pee just a little bit, right? Or you could have that they pee a lot at one time. So here we have you frequent needing to pee, urging to urinate with copious flow of urine. So there isn't any problem with the flow, and that there is a lot of flow of urine. Both of those go together, and that's important. Because if somebody says that they need to pee a lot or frequently,
Frequent
hmm?
after 2, 3, 4, 4, 5.5, 6, 17 hours.
Yeah, it's a very strong symptom. With a lot of urinating and urging to urinate, but with a large quantity. And whenever somebody comes to us in the clinic and says that they need to urinate frequently, you need to ask more about that, because that can be something that's very indicative of various remedies. You know, if somebody
One more,
needs to go just a tiny bit is way different than if they pee a lot at one time.
one more thing you can understand from this rubric is rubric says frequent urging to urinate with copious flow of urine and has given after 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours and half hour, 16 hours and 17 hours currently. And he says when you are going for pee too frequently, the quantity of amount of pee becomes less and less with every item. But here we that so copious. Means kidneys are filtering more and more or making more and more too quickly.
Yep, that's important. That's why I said that when somebody complains about that, or when we're reviewing their whole bodily function, because remember, we don't just need to go with what people complain about. We could also say, you know, at the end when people are talking, we can kind of go through a body list, a systemic list of, okay, and how is your breathing? How is your peeing? How is your sex drive? How is your walking? Do you have any problems, with any of your limbs? We can go on and on and on. Now, asking people just to go through their basic, their organs and how things function. And we sometimes get some very important information that they haven't really thought about as being a problem in their life, but gives us really important information to what they need help with. Because people get used to their complaints. Somebody might be going to the bathroom and peeing a large quantity every hour, but this might be the way they've been, forever. So, they might not think that it's a situation. Okay. All right. Now we're in the genital organs. Inflammatory swelling of the genital organs going to the length of mortification with horrible pains. Oh, this is very bad, right? Okay, swelling of the genitals to mortification. They're going to die from it, from horrible pains. Okay, this is an interesting part here. Okay, the word mortification. It means more than one thing. Mortification, it comes from the Latin word mort, meaning dead. And people often say mortification as in like humiliation or terrible embarrassment. But it also means, that it's just so severe, they feel like they're going to die. And we know that in Arsenicum that there's a number of different ways that people will express that their problem is so severe they just want to die. And it says here, of course, with horrible pains. And here in Arsenicum, we have menses too soon. And according to proving data, that would be before the 28th day. So if it happens on day 25, day 26, that would be too soon. If it happens after 2 weeks, that's too soon. And remember, menstruation is always accounted from the beginning of bleeding to the next beginning of bleeding. Okay? And then the next we have underneath it, the next piece of proving data is excitation of too profuse menstrual flow. Okay, so there's too much blood, too heavy bleeding. So not only is it too soon, but it is too copious. It's too much. Oh, and then we go to our nose. We're in the nose symptoms here. 499. Dryness of the nasal cavity. Where are the nasal cavities? Anybody got nasal cavities?
Perhaps it may be the nostrils?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Probably that, but it could also be higher. It could be the sinuses, just nasal cavities. It's a little bit vague.
Nasal cavity really its whole space begins from this anterior nair to a posterior nair opens side throat. It seems like it's vertical, but nasal cavity is not vertical, it's horizontal. Nose is not like this, it's like this, which is separated by a nasal septum. Hello? Hello? What?
We hear you.
Hello?
We hear you.
Check. Okay. Nasal cavity is cavity. It's cavity which begins from anterior nair to posterior nair. It's horizontal. It's not vertical.
Yeah,
You
it
see
goes
that
up like this.
it goes like horizontal,
Yeah,
straight backwards,
like
which
this.
opens and one end opens the throat.
And then it drains back here.
Yeah.
At the back of the throat, behind the tonsils, is the
And
opening.
here we have this lateral wall of that cavity. This forms lateral wall, goes deep inside up to whole cavity. There are three turbinates means like what you call projection, like a row, which directs that air which we inhale inside the, what do you call, trachea. Trachea.
Trachea, yeah. So it goes from the front of the face, it goes back
Because
to the mouth,
uh,
and then
this
it goes down to the chest.
nasal cavity opens high above, and below there are two openings. Front is trachea and backward is esophageal opening. And it is at the base of what we call throat, you can see. And above there is a nasal opening behind, and mouth, oral cavity opens just in front of or below the nasal cavity. So whatever you eat has to cross that air passage and go into uh, esophagus. But whatever you inhale with the nose has to cross that food passage and come in front, go in trachea. There is a crossway. So we can experience these when we eat things. At the moment we swallow, we stop breathing for a moment. Hello?
Yeah, we're here, we're listening.
And when you are inhaling, you cannot swallow. You cannot do both things, inhale air and swallow food, drinks at the same time.
Which can be part of the reason why it can be so miserable to have a cold.
So this anatomical aspect of throat, nasal cavity, posterior nares, and esophageal opening. This aspect is very important to understand. That way you can understand the reflexes the patient says. When he inhales, he you call, sorry, when he try to eat or swallow, he sneeze out. Not sneezing exactly. What is that word? What is that word? When this food particle or anything tries to enter uh, your trachea, larynx,
Coughing, choking,
ah, coughing, coughing.
coughing from choking, tickling.
Okay, what we can say, dryness of nasal cavity is important term, and we see we use arsenic frequently for coryza, fluent coryza. But see here is bold, frequent sneezing without coryza and dryness of nasal cavity. Very important symptom.
But there's also frequent sneezing with a lot of mucus. So they can be with
That's why.
mucus,
That's why.
but in the bold, it's only frequent sneezing without mucus. But then in regular type, it's frequent sneezing with mucus. And then it shows that the discharge is
200, 203, 203, third symptom, frequent sneezing with fluent coryza. Discharge of acrid fluid from nose. Chopped up coryza combined with fluent coryza.
And then you see 505 often with people come in and they're sick. Every morning I'm waking, sneezing, and runny nose each time. So when you have somebody who every morning when they're waking up, they have runny nose and sneezing, that can also belong to arsenicum.
Ah,
And then you see again that it has the burning and the smarting and the irritation. Smarting means that it hurts. So you have a watery mucus with arsenicum that sometimes hurts and it's like corrosive. You know, it kind of like irritates the nostrils and the nose up here, and that it's painful. It's not bland. Sometimes the repertory will say, you know, with bland mucus, arsenicum mucus is not bland mucus, it's irritating mucus. And then, of course, then you have the severe fluent coryza. You have the severe fluent mucus. You got your really bad cold and it hurts and everything's dry and everything's hoarse and it's all irritated, right? We see these presentations commonly. If we haven't even had them ourselves, right? Who has escaped the arsenicum cold or the arsenicum flu? Very common. And then you have tickling coughs, violent coughs, things like there's something in the windpipe. See, constant tickling in the whole windpipe. That's what Sanjay was talking about, the windpipe.
yeah.
And then a cough, especially after drinking, in symptom 540. Okay, 540. But then right before at 539, when he drinks without thirst, it causes coughing. And then there's cough, especially after drinking. The drinking does not relieve the cough, but it comes on after drinking. That's interesting because usually if people have a cough or an irritation in their throat, the water will make it feel better for a little while. Then we have hawking pains, shooting pains, dry coughs, constrictions, oppressions, suffocatives, right? Because you know there's a whole bunch of constrictions, suffocative cough, different things like that in arsenicum as well. Because that arsenical vapor, there's like a vapor, they used to use it in wallpaper. And people would get arsenic poisoning from being in rooms that had wallpaper that had arsenic in it. And people would sometimes react to it. And they would get kind of like an asthmatic kind of problem from their wallpaper in their rooms. And then sometimes when removing wallpaper, they'd get arsenic poisoning, which is an interesting fun fact from history. Okay, we're back to a bowl. Always immediately after coughing, the breath is so short as if his whole chest was contracted. Okay, so you've got the chest. You've got a person who's coughing. They're coughing, cough, 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 cough. They're done coughing, but the chest feels tight. The chest feels tight, and they can't get a good amount of air into the lungs. They're trying to breathe, but they can't take in a good breath because the chest feels tight. This is what this means. Contracted, made smaller, pulled in. Contracted is the word. So you've got coughing, person's coughing. And then they're trying to breathe, but they can only breathe a little. Just short gasps. Because it feels too tight in the chest. Okay? Tearing, shooting pain in the right armpit. Right here. A tearing. What's a tearing pain? Tearing pain. Tearing pain is one of our types of pain. Tearing. It's being ripped apart. We're ripping it apart. It's a tearing pain. It's not a punching pain. It's not a throbbing pain. It's not a pulsating pain. It is a ripping pain. Okay, guys? Tearing. Whenever you see tearing, that's what it means, that it's being torn apart. It feels like it's being ripped. Ripped. Okay. Ooh. At night, pain in the arm of the side laying on. That could be either then he lies on, then it's in parentheses. That's where we get Devira. This is the parentheses, not the brackets. See it? We're right here, Devira, at the
Can I
parentheses.
see?
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking
Yes,
about.
I see it.
Okay. At night, pain in the
Okay.
arm of the side laying on. When he lies on the right side of the right arm, goes to sleep. Okay, so that's a questionable symptom when it's in the parentheses. When it's in the brackets, it's from another document. When it's in the parentheses, that means that it's maybe not, we're not quite sure. But then if we go to, like, let's say Herring or Allen's encyclopedia, we might get confirmation there. But because it can also happen on the left, because it's the side laying on. So if you're laying on your left side and then there's pain in the arm, that can also be arsenicum. Okay. But we have a very good example here of the difference between parentheses with a questionable symptom and brackets where it's a historical notation, as when you have here at 626, 627, 628, 629 is N Warren, whatever that is, 1C. So that is from a different document altogether. It's not a direct proving symptom with the small lumps of the hand on the hands. Okay, so we've got that cleared. The differences between the parentheses and the brackets. And then again, we have
Terry.
tearing. $6.45. Eroding itching of the right thigh near the groin, causing him to scratch. Okay, what does eroding mean? Anybody know what the word eroding means?
Road.
An erosion is where there's like an abrasion. It's like okay, you have the excoriation betwixt the thighs with itching, same kind of thing, eroding. And the skin is falling apart. The skin isn't whole. The skin is falling apart. It's eroding. It's being eaten into. So there's some kind of skin condition that isn't an eruption, but it's being disturbed and it's being eaten into. It's an erosion. Just like how you have in the word before, the excoriation, where it's kind of like being eaten up a little bit. So when something's eroding, it's falling apart, it's not whole, it's not an overgrowth, it's a depression. It's where things are being, you had that excoriation, and we talked about the various fluids being acidic. So if something is, if an acid is touching skin, there will be an erosion. It's a disintegration. Okay, so there's something that's happening that's eroding the skin of the right thigh near the groin. The groin is where the crotch is, and the legs, and the groin is that flexure. See, we would use that rubric, for flexures. The groin is a flexure where the leg meets the torso. And there's an eroding itching on the right thigh, okay, near the groin that causes him to scratch. And then we have both thighs causing scratching in the evening. Then we have cramps. Okay, 671, 672, is that 672? A tearing, shooting, as if in the periosteum, down the thigh and leg as far as the tip of the big toe. Okay, now we know what tearing means again, right, guys? I'm going to demonstrate tearing. Tearing. And what's shooting? Right? So we've got shooting pain. The shooting pain comes sudden pain. And it shoots, means that it goes from one place to another. Okay? So it says it's like as it's in the bone, down the thigh, down the leg, as far as the tip of the big toe. Okay, so we are having a tearing sensation with shooting. Shooting connotates movement. So it's going from one point to another. It's going from here to here, suddenly, right? Tearing, shooting. We need to scroll our page. And then we have that restless leg problem in the next one, right? And nighty often cannot lie, must lay the feet first in one place and then in another, or must walk about to get relief. You know, the diagnosis, restless leg syndrome, right, guys? Those legs keep moving, or he must get up and walk around to get relief. Modern medicine says that it's a problem with dopamine. Hahnemann gives us a very nice example of how it can be cured. Sanjay, can you scroll our page, please? Sanjay's on the phone. Scroll. Okay, and then in the afternoon when sitting, a twitching in the feet. Oh, good, thank you. It's taking a while to get to another bowl. You see, Ishwant, we're only doing the bold ones because there's like 40 pages of proving data. Ah, okay, 760, 761, 762, 763, proving number 763. Severe tearing in the arms and legs, owing to which he cannot lie on the side where it tears. It becomes most tolerable by moving about the part where the tearing pain is. Okay, so that's a little bit complex, right? We've demonstrated the tearing. We're just taking this grocery store receipt and tearing it up. Tearing, severe tearing. That means it's very bad. In the arms and the legs. And then this says owing to which, making it so that he cannot lie on the side where the tearing sensation is. Okay, so there's tearing sensation in the arms and legs, cannot lay on the side where the tearing sensation is, but it becomes better, not alleviated, not ameliorated, but tolerable. Tolerable does not mean ameliorates. It means that they can live with it because it's severe. It becomes most tolerable by moving about the part where the tearing pain is. So let's say, for example, there's a tearing pain in the right or the left arm, okay? We're gonna have tearing pain in the left arm. We can't lay on that side because of the tearing pain in the left arm. But by moving it around, it's good enough that we can manage. Okay? That makes sense, guys? It doesn't alleviate it completely, but it makes it tolerable to move it. And then we have a whole bunch of different things here that are very important with ulcers and diabetic ulcers and other kinds of ulcers and bad things like that, which, we see that a lot when we need to give arsenicum, of there being things where there's very bad ulcerations. And then here we have yawning in 8:51, 52. 8:52, we have yawning and stretching as you've not slept enough, but only yawning. And then in 8:60, he could scarcely walk across the room without sinking down. What do we think sinking down means here? What do we think sinking down means? That there's tremendous weakness. He can barely make it across the room. He's so weak, he can barely make it across the room. We know there's a lot of fatigue and weakness in arsenicum, right, guys? Up, and then we have a 3 a.m. modality. We just passed. Up, here we go again at 3 a.m. Interesting, there's a 3 a.m. modality. Okay. 896, vivid, vexatious dreams. Huh. Vivid, vexatious dreams. To be vexed is to be irritated or upset. And vivid means lifelike. So in arsenicum, there are vivid, lifelike, upsetting dreams. Okay, 210 from 910. Okay. On awaking frequently at night, she has burning in all the blood vessels. So there's burning internal. We have that constant yawning. And here we're in fever. Very bad fever. Violent fever would mean a very high fever. Very bad fever, distressing fever. Okay, 936. Febrile rigor through the whole body with hot forehead, warm face and cold hands, without thirst and without subsequent heat. So there's chill, okay? There's chill and shivering. What's shivering? What's this rigor that they mean here? Explain this. Sanjay?
Yeah,
What's febrile rigor?
tiger is chill,
With
uh, being fever, heat stage.
yeah, but rigor is more than only heat stage. What is it? What goes along with it?
Tiger is chills.
Yes, shaking with chills, shaking with chills. You know, fever where they're shaking with chills throughout the whole body. The forehead feels hot. The face feels warm. The hands are cold. There's no thirst. And there is no heat that comes on. Because see, when we're sick and we're making a fever, we're going to shake. And that motion is going to increase the heat of the body. It's going to help increase the heat of the body to shiver and to shake. This is the febrile rigor. Okay. And this is without first thirst, but heat doesn't happen because generally when we're shivering, we're shivering, we're shivering, we're sitting under our blankets, we're trying to get warm, and then we throw our fever, right? Here it says it doesn't happen. We don't get hot, and that's unusual. Therefore, it is in the bold. (9:45). After drinking, chill and shivering immediately. Okay, 9:65, 9:66, 9:67, 9:68. When walking in the open air, shivering occurs. Okay, we're shivering, we're cold, we're outside, we're in the open air and we're cold. And here we're in the anxiety and the disposition. Irritated state of the disposition. He vexes himself. He irritates himself. He's so irritated. That's interesting. About trifles and cannot leave off talking about the faults of others. Okay, so in Arsenicum, we have a bold in the mental state. Which is important. Okay, irritated state of the disposition. He vexes himself about trifles and cannot leave off talking about the faults of others. Okay, so you have somebody who is an irritable person and that he gets himself all upset about small things. That's what trifles are, small things. Little things are annoying him. He's upset about little things. He's irritated and he can't stop talking about the faults of others. Have we all met people who complain about how everybody does something wrong all the time? We cannot leave off talking about the faults of others, what other people have done wrong, and what's wrong with other people. That's interesting. Anxiously impatient in 1050. So we're at proving number 1050. Anxiously impatient. Wants to hurry, 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 hurry. And nervous about being hurried. And then ill humor. Grumpy. What else could we say about ill humor? In English, I would call it like a grumpiness. Anybody else? What would that be in Marathi?
What's the difference between irritable and grumpy? And ill-humored?
They're all kind of along the same spectrum, aren't they? Humor is kind of like one's attitude. They have a bad attitude.
Can you compare the attitude of Arsenicum to Nuxvomica when they're ill?
Nix would be more angry.
More angry.
Yeah, more angry than grumpy or irritable.
Mhm.
Yeah, but look where we are now. We have finished arsenic.
Yeah, fin-
So those were the main bold points in Arsenicum. I do recommend that everybody open their book and read the full proving data. Because just for the saving of time, we only went through the bold highlighted things. And we missed out a lot. But you know, this is my 4th hour on Arsenicum already.
everyone need to read full content of Pura.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You're in and out. Did you say something to me?
Yeah, your comment. Arsenicum.
My comment on Arsenicum?
Yeah,
What do you mean my comment?
to have comment say part.
I didn't, you're in and out, like I hear every other word. I'm sorry.
I say, do you have anything to say about arsenic?
Uh, I don't have anything much to say about it. When, you know, when it's the right remedy, it's great. My experience with it, I mean, there are things that are, you know, in bold that I don't find necessarily always true. Such as the burning pains, you know, very bold. I have taken arsenicum quite a few times. I've never felt the burning pains. So like every other remedy, very individualistic.
Yeah, the depth of arsenicum is so broad.
I was reading something in Herring, that it says that it's the least something remedy because there's so many symptoms, and that's why they had to take the opposite of sulfur. I didn't understand quite what it even means. If you look on Herring at the first page where it says full text,
Sanjay, can you pull that up?
Which one?
and guiding symptoms, if you go to Arsenicum,
Adding symptoms.
right, so if you go to the full text,
Guiding symptoms of Herring's guiding symptom, right?
right? Oh, it says the administration of arsenicum is more often disappointing than that of any other drug, the cause of which lies in the too numerous collections of poisonings and the lack of symptoms produced by higher potencies. This view is corroborated by the collection of the sulfur symptoms, where the relation is the reverse. Oh, where they see the higher symptoms, they see the symptoms
is this?
produced by the higher symptoms.
Arsenic.
So there's too many collections of poisonings and not enough of the higher potencies. Symptoms produced by higher potencies.
Where it is done.
So what do they mean? The administration of arsenicum is disappointing
I
more than
guess-
any other.
I guess the heroine was often disappointed when he used the arsenicum.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I'm generally satisfied when I get it.
Yes.
Every once in a while, we make a poor selection. It happens, you know.
Right.
It happens. I wouldn't say that
Yes.
somebody is generally disappointing.
Right.
I would say generally it is a very valuable and useful remedy.
Very, very useful, especially in a 200C for an acute.
Yeah, I remember getting food poisoning and having vomiting and diarrhea at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that arsenicum brought me great comfort.
Wow. Wow.
It was terrible. Yep. So no, I think it's a very, very.
Yeah,
good
I
remedy.
actually sent that remedy with my daughter. She was traveling after the army, and she was in, I don't remember where, in Thailand or one of those places where they get the Bali belly and they have terrible belly aches. And thank God she had arsenicum with her because it really saved her.
Mhm. Yeah, I got that food poisoning in India.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm. Oh boy.
Mhm.
Did you have the
Okay.
remedy with you, or you went to a homeopath or this Sanjay give it to you?
No, I was elsewhere in India and I had to
Mm.
ask somebody to bring it to me after they
No.
woke. I'd been up the whole night. I'd been up the whole night.
Maybe you'll plan a trip, Tikva, and we'll all go to India.
Yeah, I asked Sanjay a couple of weeks ago if they're letting in unvaccinated travelers yet.
Mm.
When you are coming, hello,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're letting in unvaccinated.
when you are coming,
No, we're asking if there's if they're allowing in unvaccinated travelers. Maybe he doesn't hear us?
He hears us. He doesn't know
Oh.
what to say.
Ah, okay,
He doesn't know what to say and he doesn't know want to look.
okay.
You know, I
Okay.
was at my daughter's Chol Moed on their Moshav, and it was her father-in-law's birthday party, and his cousin came for the birthday party, and they have somebody from Kerala that takes care of Saba Yosef. The Saba had been hit by a car, and they have a guest worker that is a nurse, right? Which is
Right.
such a huge blessing for the family because, you know, it's so hard for them to care for him.
Sure.
So I went to talk to the man from Kerala that's the nurse, because, you know, I speak English fluently, right? And it was, and then his cousin, the father-in-law's cousin, she's like, oh man, I always wanted to go to India. Next time you go, will you take me? I'm like, yeah, you'll have such a great time. Make sure you never wear pants because you'll never be able to pee again, right? There's nowhere to put your pants and you're gonna get them all wet because there's
Oh.
all this squat toilet.
There's all
And
these what? There's all these what?
the squat toilets.
Oh,
Where you have to
okay.
squat. You
Oh,
can't,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
eat when you're wearing pants. I don't know how people manage. I don't go when you have your period is another tip. Never, never, never,
Right.
never. Mhm. So yeah, there's a lot of different tips for traveling in India. I mean, there's like no bathrooms for females. It's very, very complicated. Very,
Mm.
very complicated. And her husband is like totally not going. He's like, we're not going there. They travel everywhere all the time. It's, you know, it seems like people that live on moshavs travel a lot. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm just like giving her various things. She's like, well, I'll go with you. And she's all, and what do we do for food? I'm like, well, you go to people's houses, hang around in the kitchen, help out a little, try to stay with somebody who's pure veg. That means that they don't eat any animal products, right?
Right, right.
She's like, take me, take me. But we don't know when we're going to be let in because we're waiting for somebody to tell us. Or we could do the job ourselves. If we were interested, we might look it up. But I mean, if somebody else were interested,
Well,
anyway,
we just opened up here, so,
yes.
you know.
But they don't have any restrictions or anything going on in India nowadays, really, except for in like Mumbai and Delhi. That's the only place that kind of care about stuff. So they all have their Omicron, and we've all had our Omicron, and who knows, right? Anyway, so maybe one day we will get back to traveling. Only thing is that those PCR tests, you know, before and after the airport over and over again, you know, then that really adds up too.
Now I think it's just entering back home, back here.
Yeah, not in other countries.
I don't know. I don't know, right, I don't know.
Yeah, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting on that a little bit. Okay, well, now we have talked about more than just Materia Medica Pura, about Arsenicum, but we have now thankfully finished Arsenicum.
Yay.
That has been a lot of fun, and we have gone through hours and hours of Arsenicum, and I do urge you to read the whole proving data yourselves, people out there who are watching us. I'm afraid that it doesn't make a very good podcast when we only read the bold which I think.
Are you gonna be doing other remedies that are not part of the, of Hanneman's, 125?
Well, eventually we'll need to, because, there's things, like gelsemium that are really important to us, and latches that are
Right.
really important to us. Things that we just use all the time and have to keep it in our pocket, right?
Right.
Yeah, so probably. Let's see if we can get people interested and motivated to continue with this project.
Yes, we're
Continue the
continuing.
program.
We are continuing.
Mhm.
We're
Okay,
marching forward.
marching forward. And then
Yeah.
that means next Sunday, unless we have our guest speaker who had to cancel because he wants to come back, then we have a SARM. And our SARM is not a very big revenue. But then we come to our Metallicum, right? Mhm.
Mm,
That is a party. Yeah. A SARM's not a very big party, but when we get to our Metallicum, we're having a party again.
oh, yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for watching this. And feel free to share it. And feel free to invite others. And we can like the page, we can subscribe, we can share, because all that helps our, what would you call it? Not the demographics, the, what's the word?
Ugh.
All that garbage for the social media stuff.
Following, our following, I don't know.
Our presence. There's a word for it, and it's just not coming to me. Where things get like ghosted towards the back, or whether or not they show.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? Yeah.
mhm.
Oh, somebody might know the word here because something came up in the chat. Okay, that's just Shahala saying, thank you so much, ma'am. Well, thank you, Shahala, for coming. We appreciate it. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me at Homeopathy for Humanity again, making homeopathy great again.
Yes, always.
Yep. And have a good one. Till next time. That should be Thursday, Bleinator. Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.